What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Dare I say, I have another man's man that's going to be my guest today. I love it when I get Democrats who are military, served 21 years, is going to be my guest to discuss a whole lot of BS. Number one, that big ugly bill. We've got to break it down. The breakup between Elon Musty Musk and Trump. We've got to discuss that. Campaign finance reform. That is something that, if we haven't seen anything else this past election cycle, is something we need desperately. And I've got the man running for District 15 in Florida who's going to help me break it down. Robert People joins us right now. And after this intro, the next voice you'll hear will be his. Take a look at this.
All right, welcome everybody. This is my campaign page, Robert People for Congress. Again, running in 2026 for the U.S. House of Representatives for Congressional District 15 in Florida. Now, of course, we're at the very beginning stages of this, so as we develop and begin to establish more areas, websites, other pages, get volunteers, things like that, that information will be passed on to here as well. And we see that in D.C. there's an urgent situation going on, so we got to start early to start making this happen and start flipping these seats. Florida is deep red, and we got to change that. We are not that.
I'm up early for the dealers come out. Everybody is outside till the killers come out. You ain't eating, you just act full. I'm impactful. Dozen funerals in a month. I got that pull. I will give it to niggas in all rap forms. Ignatius out right now on all platforms.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. My nickname to this man is the final boss. If you people in Florida vote for this brother, he will be that last boss that you can never beat in the video game when it comes to making sure we get some campaign reform. Robert, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, Lamar. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to have you here. It's always great to have someone running for office who can talk about the trials and tribulations they're going through, just trying to serve the people and trying to do the best they can for the people. And Florida is definitely a hotbed with a lot of things we need to discuss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, his links is in the video description. Please go down there. There's a link to donate to this brother. So at the end of this video, when you love everything he's got to say, donate to him. There's a link to get his TikTok. And for me, you can get everything I do from my acting, my producing, my YouTube, the podcast. Just go to beacons.ai/politics of being black. Robert, before we get into the meat and taters of this thing, I always do something a little fun that is my nod to the ladies at the I've Had It podcast. I do something on my show called We've Had It. And let me give you the intro music. Let me give you the intro music, and then right after that, I want to hear what you've had it with. Here we go. Robert, what have you had it with?
Oh, man. Where to start? Oh, my goodness. Right now, I will say I've had it with and we're going to get into this later on, but you already said, but I've had it with all the money in politics, really, especially when we're talking about, and not just, I know we're going to segue into that eventually, but just what it takes for the average person to run. I don't know if you've looked it up or if anybody knows listening what it takes to run, even for a local office, but I'm on the congressional side, and it's crazy. And I've had it with that because there's a lot of good people out there, and we end up never even hearing from some of those people not because they're no good, but just the money just isn't there for them.
Not to mention that, ladies and gentlemen, he's being so modest. He's letting his background tell the story. This man is a 21-year veteran, and he's telling you, someone who served this country heroically and sacrificed is having a hard time dealing with the menagerie of the finances. I'm right with them. I'm right with you, Robert. And we had a partner of yours up here who's running for Senate in Oklahoma, Jasmine Thomas, and she mentioned that she's having to try to raise almost $250,000 to get effective in that race. And it was never meant to be like that, Robert. So I concur with you. I've had it too. I've had it. I mean, I'm thinking about one of these days, I'm learning from you all. I might run, but I'm like, I better step up my stock trading, because if I don't, Lord have mercy.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Right. And ladies and gentlemen, as he said, we will get to that because I'm sure he's got a plan. That's why I call him the final boss of campaign finance reform. And Robert, we've had it today is kind of something we're going to talk about, but this is what I've had it with. I've had it with rich people wanting to socialize the risk of getting in business, and then they want to capitalize on the gains. What do I mean by that, ladies and gentlemen? I put this man face up here, Elon Musty Musk, because he's a prime example of that. So is Trump too, but right now I'm gonna pick on Elon. Elon got such fat contracts from the government to start Tesla, SpaceX, and now the Boring Company. I hate when rich people get indignant and want to tell middle class and poor, the hell with socialism. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Because when they tell you that, Robert, what they really are telling you is, I don't want you using the money I can get my hands on so that this government money that we're seizing from everybody, I can use it to risk this business. And if I don't get this business to go, I ain't lose no money. But if I do get the business to go, I've socialized you guys as capital to carry on the risk. And now that I've made these capital gains, I ain't sharing nothing. So, Robert, I've had it. Tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm too strong. What do you think?
No, sometimes I think it's not even strong enough the way, just how deep some of it gets. Because one thing I tell people, and a lot of folks I think don't understand this, is that we look at it as middle class and poor. But I will say even upper class, they're not safe either. And one thing I go to, I don't know if if you're not good at math, then this might not mean anything. But then again, at the same time, it's not that hard to understand too, because I think there's a lot of people out there who think they're, as we say, part of the club, but they're nowhere near it. And they're not, basically it's not billionaires against only the poor. It's basically the billionaires against everybody. And there's people out there, I've come across a lot of people who think that if they're not poor, they're basically on the same level or almost on the same level as the billionaires. And they're not. And one thing I do, and I just mentioned math. I said one thing I do to explain this to people and express this is that people don't realize how far away, even if you are a millionaire, even if you have $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, even if you have that, you're still closer to poor than you are to billionaire status. And the way to understand that is, let's look at, and here's the math, everybody, but this is, let's look at 1,000,000 seconds. 1,000,000 seconds takes 11 days. How much do you think 1,000,000,000 seconds take?
11 years.
32 years. How about that?
Wow.
32 years. Now, 1,000,000, 10 million, 100 million is further away from 1 billion than a lot of people think. They think that just because the numbers look like they're close together, no, you're not close to their status. So you're closer to us. The 1 million seconds is closer to 0 than it is to 1 billion. Even if you did 100 million, same thing. So that's why I say there's a lot of people who basically aren't poor, think that they're on the same level, and it's us, it's billionaires against everybody else. So that's why I say, yeah, I'm on it. I agree with everything you're saying, because that makes perfect sense. It just, that's, we're their pawns basically.
Exactly. And people tend to forget, Robert, that we don't have to be their pawns, because we have a lever that we can pull called voting that could check their unregulated, unmitigated power. But oftentimes the Republicans are able to produce these great stories, and they use two things, Robin. I'll get you here later, but I'll just say this to close. They use two things to manipulate people into thinking they shouldn't get help from the government. One is hate, the other is religion.
Yes.
And when you combine those two things, it has been a winning strategy for the Republican Party for years, and it continues to be a cancer on democracy when you combine those two and then you subtract education.
Yeah.
So y'all let us know what you think. Please comment below. Robert's information is down there, and we're going to get him to the serious stuff. So, Robert, the Senate narrowly passed this big ugly bill today. They're
Yeah.
calling it big, beautiful, but it's big and ugly. And I'm going to give you an excerpt of some of the things that are in it. And then I want to hear what you think about it. And I'll kind of retort my feelings toward it. At the end of the day, it's all bad. There's nothing good in this for middle class and poor. And it's very frustrating. Take a look at this, Robert.
What you are going to see as a result of the bill that's moving through the Senate that will then go back to the House is a $4 trillion deficit increase, and that's in the view of the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. Our estimates at the Yale Budget Lab are very similar. So are those from the Tax Foundation. So are those from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. So all of these groups are telling you one thing: this is a huge deficit increase. And then you have to ask the question, it's a deficit increase with the spending on who? And that's the work that we put out today, where we showed that if you look at the bottom 20% of the distribution, what is happening to low and middle income Americans in this country as a result of this bill is their after-tax income is actually going down. And the reason for that is because they're on the sort of losing end of those $1 trillion plus in Medicaid cuts and the decreases in food stamps that are being legislated from this bill. And so that money is being taken from them, in addition to deficit increases more generally, and is being spent on the top of the distribution. The top 1% is actually getting 5 times more than the bottom 10% is losing as a result of this bill. They're coming out about $30,000 ahead per family. And so it's very significant what these differences are. You're literally taking from the poor and giving to the rich as a result of this legislation.
Dang on.
Robert, I got 2 points I want to make to you before I give. I'm gonna lob the ball up to you. I'm Kobe, you Shaq tonight.
Okay.
Man, I've been in business a long time. I've owned a respiratory therapy business, outpatient services with kids in North Carolina. They cut the Medicaid budget, almost put me out of business. I've owned childcare properties. I trade stocks daily. I own real estate. And what the Republicans have done with this bill, and what they usually do with their viewers, is they use jargonistic terms that their people do not understand, but they'll tell them, listen to me, you ain't got to research nothing. One thing that I heard in this bill from a Republican person with the administration, Robert, they are going to let you depreciate whole buildings that have specific equipment in it. Let me repeat that. Depreciate a whole building that has specific equipment in it. And to further buffer that point, and then the floor is yours, Robert, I've always said this about unregulated capitalism. Unregulated capitalism. This is what it looks like. A pyramid and a Ponzi scheme is supposed to be illegal, but this is literally what it looks like. You have the rich up here at the very top, siphoning off everybody that is pushing them up. When they used to tell us in the Reagan era that trickle down is what creates a good, robust economy. And last I checked, since Bush, every Democrat has had to come in behind Republicans and clean up their fiscal policies. Clinton, Obama, Biden. Floor is yours, man, on this bill.
You know what? It's so much garbage in there, man, and it's sad. It's just whenever I hear about it, I just I just tense up, because there's nothing, like you said it already. There's nothing good about it. And I'm glad you showed that chart, because that's exactly, as I said earlier, rich and everybody else, basically. So that middle class, just because you think you're better than poor, upper class, just because you think you're better than middle class, guess what? All of us are outside the club. And they're taking from you all too. As a matter of fact, they're probably working harder on the middle class and upper class, because they know y'all got more than we do. So, or than the poor folks do. Not like the poor folks are safe, but it's still there. And it's the greed right now, and it's so blatant too. It's so much in our face that it's just like, sometimes I'll just look at videos that people post, or even look at the news, and sometimes I rewind it back, and I'm just like, are they serious? They just gonna be in our faces with this? And you hear a lot of what the Republican, especially in the Republicans in Congress, say in response to some of this. For example, who was it who said, Mitch McConnell said, they'll get over it. And it's like, woo, okay, as far as losing the Medicaid.
Right.
Someone said a while back, I can't remember her name, but she said, "Hey, we're going to die anyway." So, and, this is this is what I mean. They're so comfortable with it now, and it's just, to me, that's what gives me really just angry every day, and more motivated on top of all this to say, okay, you know what? I want to be part of this. I don't want to sit on the sideline to keep talking anymore. I want to be in the mix and say, okay, look, y'all gonna hear my mouth too, and I'm gonna be part of fixing this.
100%. I'm gonna give a shout out to a TikTok creator that came on with me last week. Her name is Eliza. You guys go check her out on TikTok. She came on with me and she said something that was so profound because her partner is in the military too and just had to leave because of what's going on in Iran. So shouts out to her.
Mm,
But Robert, she said to me, when history looks back on this time frame we're in right now,
mm,
it is either going to be thanking creators like me and you who are on this platform trying to push the message of democracy, or it's going to be really upset with people who are trying to inflict a dictator like the Joe Rogans and those people who idly sit by to have influence but don't want to do anything because they're sitting in a cushiony position for now.
mhm,
It's always with those type of people for now because dictators will always find a way to come for somebody they don't like. Prime example of that, look at Trump and Elon Musk right now. Is, as you
yeah,
said, it's happening right in front of your face, right in
yeah,
front of your face. Um, and getting back to this bill, people, capitalism is supposed to look like this. It's
mhm,
supposed to be a spinning wheel that connects everybody under our system under the correct guardrails. And those guardrails have been thrown out the window because we do have a snake oil salesman as president. We have
mhm,
one who lies through their teeth as president. We have someone who hates government but doesn't mind using government's money to enrich themselves. And here's a quick summary of what's in this bill. So basically, it's got a side by side comparison. It's got the rich, the middle class, and the poor. Basically, the gains for the rich: large tax breaks, big deductions, corporate gains, losses, future tax burdens, national debt increase. Robert, they don't give a damn about no national debt increase. They
no,
only thinking about the in and the now. For the middle class, some tax relief via tips, child care credit, SALT tweaks. Well,
mhm,
Robert, what a lot of people don't know who aren't in business, most people that capture tips, they're not reporting their money in the first place. They're
right,
not. So that's not even going to make it, that's not even going to make a difference. That was just something put out there for the campaign. And
mhm,
the child tax credit, you're basically going to give people $1,000 and you're going to allow rich billionaires to get that too. And you know, Elon Musk is running around here circle jerking, spreading his seed about 50 babies. He's going to get the extra money for all them kids and he don't need it.
yeah,
Okay. You got that going on. And what is the middle class going to lose? Less help from Medicaid and SNAP,
mhm,
possible higher costs. No way around that. And last but not least, the poor. Minor benefits. Few get tips, overtime, tax relief, big losses in insurance, food, help, and expenses.
mhm,
It's clear as day, Mr. Peoples.
yeah.
And when you get in office, what are you going to do to try to thwart these type of things, considering you almost have a little mini dictator in the petri dish called Florida as we speak?
Yeah. One thing, and the deficit, that's what bothers me the most, because one plan I had for Social Security was really because there's such a lack of trust with the government now,
Mhm.
and Florida has the highest percentage of seniors of any state in the country.
Right.
So as far as how we can protect that, because a lot of folks running around, we want to protect Social Security, and they just keep repeating that part, but the question is how, because after a while the seniors are wondering, okay, what are we doing, what's happening to actually protect it.
Mhm.
My proposal would be to send the money back to everyone, their rightful. Now that sounds radical to a lot of people, but I think of it like this: in any other situation, you give someone money to hold. Let's say you say, "Hey, Robert, let me I'm gonna give you $500. Let me hold it from me till the end of the month." Right? I come to you and say, "Hey, I couldn't pay my rent, so I took about $50 of your money, you know, and took care." Right? So you might be forgiven, might not be, but you let it go. So let's say next week, whatever, I say, you know what, I was at the casino, Lamont, and I fell a little bit behind, so I spent about $150 of your money. Now, either I'm gonna come up missing somewhere, or you gonna tell me, hey, let me just get let me just get my money back, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like that's the only option that will put trust back in people to say, hey, this is what's going to happen. Now, the pushback I'll get from that is, well, how are they going to do it because of the deficit? That's when we kick in and want to say, oh, hey, the money's not there and so forth. Well, that's not the people's fault. This is not benefits that they're getting. This is their own money back. So that means if we're going to go through all this and go through, all do this, get the debt, don't care about the deficit rate, then let's do it to give the money back to the people who it rightfully belongs to, and reform that to where, okay, now we're going to start over. People have the option to pay into it until we can get it to a place where folks can trust the government a little better with it. But when it comes to that, there's so much that we really need to reform when it comes to it. And to go to a cliche, follow the money, we got to speak up more about where this money is going. And folks are talking about it, but we need to do it on the congressional level. And that's what I'm going to bring. I'm not going there to play patty cake like I tell people all the time. I'm not going to play nice, to play pretty. I just did a video today on TikTok to say, you know what? Things are ugly right now. So why do I need to come back, and make myself look pretty dressed up? Because that's what mainly it was about. People would say things like, well, you should look, when you do videos, you should look all this. I said, things are ugly right now. You think anybody who's suffering cares what I look like? So my point is, I'm going there to kick up some dust, because
Mhm.
we got a lot of work to do.
And that's facts. You sound like the motto of my organization. Name of this thing is Politics of Being Black. And my motto is, we speak, they flinch, the government
Yeah.
system gets pinched. And it sounds like you going there to pinch some asses. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, you might have to play patty cake, because you got a lot of children running the country right now. So you might have to patty cake their asses right on up out of there. So,
I
so that
see.
you can
Yeah, I
get
hear you.
so that you can get to the adults. You know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
we can get to the adults. But in speaking of the theme of following the money,
Yeah.
now it's time to talk about campaign reform. All this money, all this dark money that is getting thrown around, that just got reinforced on quote unquote steroids after Citizens United. I've got a pretty stark video, and I'm sure you've already seen this, but we haven't seen you react to this. So this is going to be a video that gives everyone kind of a backdrop to how this dirty money works in funneling politicians, and how it circumvents the will of the people in democracy. Because people like me and you, unless we're millionaires or we got a millionaire buddy, or I always like to call him a sugar daddy, somewhere
Mhm.
willing to give us the money, it becomes hard to get
Yeah.
into the campaign. So take
Yeah.
a look at this. Let me know what you think.
Mm.
Robert, what do you think? And everybody who's watching this wants to know the tough questions too. How is your campaign being funded, considering you're fighting against what we just seen? You're fighting against the monster. But in order to fight against the monster, you kind of got to play with the monster. You got to play patty cake a little bit with the monster in
Yeah.
order to fight it. So tell us the difficulties you're dealing with, and give some retrospect on what we just seen about how murky those waters are.
Yeah, you're right on that, Demond. You do have to play the game a little bit, and I think yesterday was the end of a fundraising quarter. Today starts a new one, and that's the part I don't like the most. On top of it, because right now all my contributions are grassroots individuals, and it's tough because, number one, I don't have the name recognition here yet compared to my potential opponent, Laurel Lee. And that's probably the hardest part. Now I'm making up for that by attending meetings with caucuses and so forth, attending events, speaking. I've been invited to several events, like interviews like this. That helps. That gets me out there. So thank you again for that. But I'm still new. I'm still not somebody a lot of folks know. Where a lot of the ones who contribute, especially when you're talking about larger donors and things like that. That's my name's not there yet, and then there's more. And I don't and I understand that part of it, but along with that, it is, people are struggling right now. And I don't know what it looks like on, we're in unprecedented times right now. I think we can all agree on that as far as how things look with, this presidential administration. And I don't know what the normal time of donor fatigue and voter fatigue and so forth. I don't know what that looks like in any other presidential election, but now it feels like this what was it? What's it been? 5 months? Like five months and change. That's it, right? It feels like
Yeah.
it's been longer than that. So people are still exhausted. They're still tired. So it's like, okay, here I come, because now we have to start early because I don't have the name recognition. So I understand people who have a hard time saying, you know what, I just can't do it right now. Or, okay, here's somebody else who's going to say the same stuff that we've heard. So I get all that. And that's the message I want people to understand, is that I understand that this is not something I don't ask lightly. People don't, if you're lucky, you live paycheck to paycheck, right? Most people can't. Most people can't put money away and do all this. So now here I come asking for, oh, hey, can you just, give me something? You have no idea who I am. I'm not, familiar and so forth. So I'm definitely not going to see anything near what's there. Now, on the other hand, when you have, like the incumbent, for example, who, has been, and she has a history here. She's been a judge in Florida. She's worked for Ron DeSantis, things like that. So when you have that kind of, you have that behind you, it's a little bit easier to raise some money. She did a fundraiser last month, I believe. And this was outside of the district. Not only was it outside the district, but the minimum for people to get in was $1,000. That's the minimum we're talking about. And it's like, whoa, I would never want to do something like that. But I know if I even thought about even if I even thought about that, I wouldn't have anybody there. But it's working for her. So a lot of what you showed earlier, that's the reality for them. But meanwhile, those of us trying to do it grassroots, it's a little bit tougher because we're having to go to those who really don't have the money like that, and we're running for well, not to speak for anyone else, but I'm running for Congress to help to fix some of that, so people have a little bit more money in their pockets, so that they can get we can fix this homeowners crisis, this insurance crisis, especially down here with the hurricanes and such, and lower grocery prices, lower gas prices, doing whatever we need to do to fix that. So, but at the same time, I got to say, hey, but I need money to be able to get in there to do that. So that's the tough part. I don't like asking for money anyway. I mean, I don't know if you can, a lot of us can get that. We don't like to ask either way, to borrow or whatever. Now here I come saying, hey, I'm running for a campaign, so can you give me money that you can't spare? It becomes tough. So I sympathize with people who have a hard time with, wanting to give it. Oh, and I'm
I'll say
sorry.
this.
On top of that, just not having the network that my incumbent does, and some of those who are already in office.
I'll say this about you and this up and coming tough, loving crop of politicians. You, Bernard, JB in Atlanta, Jasmine, my big homie in Texas. What you guys are doing to leverage the playing field is you are socializing yourselves with social media. There's
Mhm.
capital in social media. That is almost the new grassroots way of knocking
Yeah,
on doors now.
yeah,
Getting into social media, letting people get to know you, getting those type of support that might not even be in your neighborhood that can
Mhm.
help bring in dollars because they believe in you, they believe in your mission, they believe in what you're doing. And so I would say to you, same thing I've said to the others, you are doing the right recipe. You keep
Mhm.
beating as many doors as you can at home, and you keep walking these social media halls on the road, because that is social capital that can add up to really help your grassroots campaign. Look at Mom Donnie, very similar
Yeah.
situation. And he did a big social media campaign. He went to places that a lot of folks didn't want to go because he's seen the Republicans. He's seen them doing it and it
Right.
worked, and it's now starting to work for them. So I commend you for coming and just having the courage to sit down with someone who's building a social media audience and just let people get to know who you are, because the only way we're ever going to get this nasty money out of politics
Yeah.
is to get enough people in there that can affect the laws. Sooner or later, we've got to do something about that Supreme Court. That's just got to be said. And the only way we can do that is by electing officials that can help get the job done. Somebody commented that they would love to see Trump get impeached. And I had to explain to him, well, we can't impeach him right now because the Senate is not going to give any help on that.
Yeah.
The House is definitely not doing it either. The only way we could ever do something about that is if we get the House and the Senate to make action. And as of right now, we can't do that. And so what you're saying about getting money so that the average person, if they want to contribute to government, can get in, we desperately need it. So you've got a group of people behind you on this channel for sure.
Mm-hmm. Thank, and I appreciate that. And you know, and you touched on this earlier, Lamont. You said that, you know, this is not how it originally was. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. You know, public office was meant for the average person to run back in the day. This was, you know, just anybody. And as we know, as we play, you know, For the Love of Money from the OJs, anybody who knows that song, once that got in the picture, okay, that of course created the separation. So now, you know, we see where things ended up. So that's just, you know, it's rough, but that's not how, you know. And I'm glad to see more people, more everyday folks, more working class folks in the mix. I know when I tell people, hey, I'm still working during the day, they say, oh, I am too. That I feel a connection with them, because it's like, that's where we are. That's how urgent this is now, to say, look, I know I'm working. I know I don't have the money, but then we got to figure this out, and we're gonna come together. Come on, if all of us are doing this, somebody got to get in. Somebody got to get in, and then they'll open the door for somebody else to get in. And it only takes one. Everything that's happened in the past, that's made that women voting, civil rights there, somebody started it first. Maybe didn't run, were not successful, led to 2 people saying, hey, let's try it then. Led to 5 people, led to 10 people. Next thing you know, we got it. So we might not get it the first time, but we're gonna get through and eventually make it happen.
Facts, big facts. And right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a 2-minute intermission to answer questions in the comment section. And if you want to reply to some of these questions, you can. I know I've got to keep you clean, but I don't have to be clean. I can be as dirty as I want to, but I'm not going to be dirty. I'm going to keep it 100, and I'll read this one first. I have Tony Green. He says, you're a betrayal to your own race if you vote Democrat. The first true voters in the African Americans for Republicans, the civil rights movement, were Republicans. So, Troy, let me answer that question. You're absolutely right. During the civil rights era, most people like Martin Luther King and the such were behind the Republicans. But guess what? The parties flipped in the late 60s, around 68, 69, and the value system for the parties changed. The Democrats used to be called the Dixiecrats. They were the party of the KKK. They were the party that believed in all that bull jive. Then in the late 60s, it switched to, now the party of the KKK is the Republicans. Now the party of I don't want any immigrants in the country is Republicans. And if Martin Luther King were alive during this era, he most certainly would not be a Republican. Mr. Robert, how do you like my rebuttal to this commenter's question?
That's perfect. That's perfect. I was getting ready to say that to him. I'm like, please say, I was like, please tell them about the party switch, because people still love to come back with that. And one thing I'll add to that, if you don't mind, Lamont, is that with people, folks love to say, and I've done videos about this, I said, people love to say the Democrats, you know, did all this, did that back in the day. I said, with everything that Republicans try to take from the Democratic Party, why are they leaving KKK in place? Why are the KKK supporting them? If it's like that, if it's really that way, they should be saying, hey, Democrats started the KKK, so let's get rid of them, right? So they're keeping all the stuff that's harmful to, you know, our communities, but would love to still fall back on, oh, Democrats did it back in the day. So, you know, and slavery too, that's another one. And of course, and that falls in the category too, as far as the party switch. But no, that's perfect response there.
And the only other thing I will add to the grand scheme of Troy Green's comment, Robert, is that the very fact that he said that equals 2 situations. Either we need to fix the American education system so that he would have known better,
Mhm.
or he just said it and didn't give a damn and he knew the truth, or he really thought this, which doesn't say anything else good either, because you got a person running around here toting that Republican talking point,
Yeah.
voting, he's misinformed, period. Period.
Mhm.
The last intermission I got for you before we get back to some heavier topics is this one. Mike D says they're socialists. Talking about me and you, right? Okay.
Okay.
This is what I have to say about Mike D. Mike D, do you like your fire department? Do you like your police department?
Mm.
Do you like people going to the emergency room who don't have health insurance? I got one for you. You people that talk this love to say you love the military. Thank you for your service. My retort to that shit is always stop thanking them for their service and pay them. At the end of the day, the government pays for all those services. That's socialism.
Mhm.
Here's another one for you, Mike D. You like Amazon? How do you like it when Amazon comes in your community and you've got all these people in that community that have been the backbone of the society before Amazon decided to bring their raggedy asses to your community? And when they get there because the local government and the federal government gives them tax money up front, then gives them tax breaks on the building that say they don't have to pay taxes fully on the building for 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. So not only do they get tax money up front, they get tax deductions on the back end. Guess what, Mike D? That's socialism. So you mean to tell me, Mike D, you're more comfortable with socialism for the people that don't need it than you are for the middle class and the poor who could use it to upscale their lives? Floor is yours, Robert.
That's exactly what I mentioned earlier too. That goes in line with what I mentioned earlier about thinking that he's part of the club. And no, it's not. He isn't. And you said it right too, Lamont, with the whole it's either bad education or intentionally passing the lie. And and the tough part is that we don't know which one is which, because it really we've seen people do both. As a journalist, I did journalism during my time in the Army, and we were taught to write at an 8th grade level,
Yes.
and because that's how the average person reads. But as far as speaking, when I started this, I was told, by some trusted individuals, you have to speak at a 4th grade level. So it's like, whoa, yeah, that's why I said that's why I said to us, wait, fourth, because that's the average. That's the reason Donald Trump appealed to so many people, because how the hell does he sound like a damn 4th grader, right? So that that's where. So that's why I was kind of like, okay, and that's tough because as a journalist, words are my thing. So it's a lot of people don't know. They straight up don't know about the party switch, but again, like the socialists, they don't understand fully how it works. Like what you just described, he probably didn't even know that's what it's about. Somebody else said socialist or whatever, or that's the flavor of the month, so he's going to go with that. So a lot of that stuff just adds more nonsense to everything and creates a big, just more for us. Which that's the thing. That's another thing too. And there's a term for this. I don't remember what it is, but the whole concept, and I know you've seen this many times, but the whole it's to the goal is to exhaust us. It's not to
Yes.
have a conversation. It's and a while back last year sometime someone said that there's a name for it. I'm gonna look that up, because a lot of people exist, especially on the MAGA side. Not necessarily Republicans. All Republicans aren't MAGA, but and I want to make sure I make that distinction, because I know there's a lot of Republicans who are angry about what's going on now, and I don't mind. I've spoken with some conservatives too, and you can tell they're looking for something different. But as far as just everything else, it's just it's. I mean, you gotta just you gotta just laugh sometimes. It's just it's a lot, but
You got to laugh, keep from
it's
crying.
their whole goal is beating us. It's not
It's,
to say that Trump is
Robert,
worth
it's called flooding the zone. That's what they're doing. They're flooding the zone.
flooding zone. Okay, yeah, I knew there was something with it. Yeah, there was a term that goes with so they're not there to have any the discussion debate is just, let's just throw some stuff at you so we can spend time. And we need to have these discussions. We need to talk about it. But that's their whole goal.
Here's another one that gets on people's nerves. Before I bring it all home and bring you back to Florida, because y'all got some wacky stuff about to happen. Let me get you on this. This is another thing that frustrates people when they see Trump getting away with things they deem other people couldn't get away with.
Yeah.
We've seen Trump sell fake ass Air Jordan solid gold stitches that if you wear them in the rain, that shit gonna turn green.
I told my wife that the time we saw it.
We've seen him try to sell cell phones now, but Robert, did you know he's got another scheme he's up to?
Yes.
Let you take a look at this, and then I'll tell you. I took one for the team, Robert. I took one for the team, and I tested this out. But I'm gonna let you hear about it first. Here we go.
Oh man.
Trump fragrances are here. They're called Victory 45 and 47 because they're all about winning, strength, and success for men and women. Get yourself a bottle and don't forget to get one for your loved ones too. Enjoy, have fun, and keep winning. Go to GetTrumpFragrances.com. This is sitting president of the United States of America adding to his knick-knack, riff-raff, flea market. And then he drops an infomercial. Play the clip.
Are here. They make a great Christmas present. I've named them Fight, Fight, Fight because they represent winning. We all want to be winning. We have to win as a nation. We want to win as a family. This fragrance is all about strength and success and confidence for men and for women. Get yourself a bottle and don't forget to grab one for your loved ones too. They'll thank you and they'll even smell good. Enjoy, have fun, keep on winning, and Merry Christmas.
Okay. I literally want to know, triple Trumpers, country club Republicans, the white people that said you voted for Trump because of his economic policy. Do you not cringe when you see the president of the United States as a snake oil?
Robert, there is a classic movie in the black community called Boomerang.
Yeah.
It stars Eddie Murphy. Do you remember when Strawn J and Eddie Murphy and the team was sitting in the boardroom and they were trying to come up with a name for her smell, and she took off her underwear and rubbed it on the scientist's face and said, "This is the essence of sex." Robert, when I saw this, all I could think of was, this is the essence of redneck. That's all I could think of. And Robert, I did the dirty work for y'all. I found a dummy who was the beta tester for the smell, and he told me exactly what this shit smells like, Robert. He told me that this Trump smell is a combination of ass, diesel truck exhaust, and race car tire essence.
No,
that's what he said. That's what he told me. He said ass, diesel truck exhaust, and race car tire essence. And I was like, so you mean to tell me it smells like the diaper that he wears? And the guy said, yes, every redneck is going to want it. And Trump said, if you buy two, he'll throw in a trailer for free. Robert, what do you think about the president of the United States grifting in the White House and not being stopped by the emoluments cause, because it's basically the same issue as impeaching him? You've got to have enough people that want to shut him down.
This is, and we're laughing at this, and there's sometimes, and maybe I'm just in a better mood right now, and oh my goodness, I hadn't seen those, the infomercial. Oh, wow. Oh man, you see me, I got tears right now, but it's some days it's hard to even laugh at it because I said, he's doing this in our faces. And one thing, this goes to something that I would want to propose to, and this is something radical. A lot of folks won't understand, but we need to have something in place that does not allow this. Right now, the checks and balances, they're not working. When the Constitution was written, and I got one of these, I said, I want to make sure I do some, make sure I'm reading, make sure I know everything that's in here. When it was written, this kind of stuff was not happening. But now we're in a place where we need to do more. There needs to be some amendments in here to where this stuff happens. What my proposal would be that there is a nonpartisan entity that stops this, that steps in and says, hey, this is clearly illegal, against the law, conflict of interest, whatever. And he's removed on that, the president or whoever. Now, right now, we're only seeing it with him. And we may see it with some others, but he's doing it so blatantly. It should be just a matter of, hey, you know what? We don't need to do the voting and all this and that, because like we just said, it's depending on who's in Congress that determines how this ends up playing out. And again, if both chambers are Republicans, so of course they're going to vote no matter what's going on. We saw that with the confirmation hearings for when he, selected his cabinet members. So we would see all the bad stuff, all the videos coming in of people not knowing what the hell they're talking about, what they're doing, just saying horrible stuff. And then we get the news later on, pick the phone up and it says such and such has been confirmed by the Senate. And you're like, so, and that's because all they're going to do is just keep. So Lamar, it can't keep going that way. There needs to be another agency that says, look, if you don't check these boxes, then he needs to look for somebody else, because we're going to decide that you can't come in here and do this kind of stuff. And it's out of it right now. It's beyond out of control. And he's still. I just heard about the perfume, the fragrances this morning. So this has been out for a little bit, I guess. But that's something I want to propose, because it's just like anywhere else. And I asked this question to folks too. I said, there's so many things that Congress and the president get away with that folks on the street would never come close to getting away with. And we would get checked quick on this stuff. So this is another one. So, okay, somebody, that's the jury system. Let's look at that. There's a reason that courts select juries the way they do. You're not going to have a drug dealer who's on trial and then say, hey, let's get 9 of his lieutenants, put them on the jury, right? Because of course, who are they going to? They're going to say they're going to vote not guilty, because that's what it looks like right now. Trump is doing all this stuff, but who are we going to ask to impeach him? Have to do, everybody who voted for him. So it's never going to go that way. But we see he's blatantly violating the Constitution in however many ways he wants to do that. So that's what I want to throw in the mix. That's what I mean when I say kicking up dust and saying, look, there's another entity needs to be created so that this stops. This cannot continue happening. There can't be just unlimited immunity. It's just it's ridiculous.
I 100% agree. And in the quiet halls of my home, I've said the same thing. I've said there's got to be an outside body that checks people when the checks and balances are not working. He's broken so many emoluments clauses, it's not even funny. And you can never do anything about it because the Democrats don't have enough people in power to help. And there are not enough Republicans with a spine to step up and say no, because they're all worried about power. And that power is not good. That's not helping the American people. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, this man is getting away with grifting. He's charging $249 for a damn 6 ounce of ass, diesel truck exhaust, and race car tire essence. He's getting away with that. And at the end of the day, if there's nobody to check him, he's going to keep doing it. He got that airplane from what used to be our enemies.
$400 million.
Robert, can you imagine if Barack Obama was to decide he want to start putting out a mixtape of him doing duets of Al Green? Oh my God, Lord, boy! Oh my!
Well,
this is what the Capitol would look like. just off a mixtape for people that's listening. I've got these spider monkey folks trying to take over the Capitol during the January 6th insurrection. Is what I'm saying would happen if Obama would just try to sell one single on a mixtape, him singing. Imagine if Kamala would have came out with a nail line, Robert. Like I'm so with you. There's got to be an outside body that helps regulate this, a nonpartisan body, because this stuff is not right. It's just not right.
Yeah. And with the I was wondering what the cost. My wife and I were talking earlier about we wondered what the cost of it would be, and we figured it would be in the hundreds. Like it would
Oh
be in the
yeah.
hundreds like that. I didn't think it would be. Let me see, 199 and 240. Yeah, that sounds about right. So for 6 ounces, yeah, and people gonna buy it just to show us, hey, look, okay. And he's laughing at y'all
Well,
too, but okay,
right.
because at this point that's where it is. But yeah, that's where. One thing I said, we saw. Well, for one, we saw how people treated Obama with the tan suit. I just go to
Yes.
that. Look how
Yes.
with the
Yes.
that insurrection. I could see
Yes.
that happening over this, and it is. When people say imagine, I was saying that to us. Like imagine if it was this, but I also some days I feel like saying, we don't need to imagine that because those individuals, Obama and they would never do anything like that.
Never.
And we know the reason people have a problem with them, but it would never come anywhere close to that because however people feel about them, we've heard, how they are. We've heard, what's, important to them. And we've seen what they've, done during their times in office. So it's hard to even imagine that because, and I get the concept, I get the idea of how people would treat that, but they just wouldn't.
Exactly.
But,
Too much integrity on that end, ladies and gentlemen. So y'all let us know. Are y'all ready to run out there and give Trump 250 or 200 so that you can smell like ass, diesel truck exhaust, and race car tire essence? Let us know. If we smell a redneck, we know what you're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Rob, I got one more issue for you, then we'll get you close to the off-ramp so people can understand your passions, who you are, your family, your service to the country. But I'm so thankful you've given us the opportunity to take you through some of the hot subjects that are in the news right now. And for us understanding how you would legislate, how you would behave if you was already in office. And I think that everybody has loved what you've had to say about what you would do. But this one hurts because this is just the same people that tell you they love God, they love Jesus, also sit around and lap up this cruelty. The state of Florida is getting ready to build something that they're calling alligator Alcatraz. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is exactly the way it sounds. Whenever you hear some bullshit that sound cartoonish or WWE-ish, it's coming from MAGA. So let's take a look at some of Fox News yucking it up as if this is funny when it's not. And we'll discuss it because this is your state. It's Florida. Let's go.
And trust me, these vicious migrant criminals will be begging to go to El Salvador when the alternative is a place called Alligator Alcatraz. DHS has now approved plans for a brand new migrant detention facility near the Everglades with the aforementioned name. Florida's AG warning there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Only the alligators and pythons are waiting.
I support putting American prisoners in a swamp surrounded by gators. You keep hearing about all these escape attempts. I mean, what's more of a deterrent than getting eaten by an alligator?
The facility will be on an old airstrip that is surrounded by wetlands filled with alligators and pythons. The detention center will be composed of large tents and trailers that can house up to 1,000 migrants.
This is an area down in Florida, and through emergency powers, they have taken over this remote airfield area in the Everglades where all the alligators live. There are some Democrats down there that have been critical of this. They don't like it. They think it's cruel to put them in the middle of nowhere, basically.
I think this is the perfect location for criminal migrants. We've had a lot of Democrats that want to break into the facilities. I don't think you want to break into this facility. It's surrounded by alligators. Steve is going to do a tour with Governor DeSantis of that facility.
He's going to tour and make sure there are actually pythons there.
Right.
And it's going to
Doesn't it remind you of like an old childhood story with the castle with the moat around it and they put alligators in it?
So this is actually true. So quite scary.
All right.
All right. No. And Homan's adding new agents, and they're not even human. Alligator Alcatraz just broke ground in Florida's Everglades. In a month, 5,000 criminal aliens will check into their swamp suites. The tents are up, the trailers are parked, and the gators are on patrol. And if Jose tries to make a break for it, hope he can swim like Phelps. Now, Seacot's got competition.
With the alligator Alcatraz, it's the idea that it's going to be in this case, we just get eaten by an alligator or
I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If snakes are fast, but alligators are, but we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%. Okay? Not a good thing.
So think about that. That's a sitting president of the United States saying that he wants to incarcerate people. This is not a nice business. And he wants to then teach them how to swerve away from an alligator to not get eaten.
Robert, what the fuck are we doing, Rob? I mean, why not put lions, tigers, and bears out there too while we at it? Why not put rhinoceros and elephants out there? I mean, literally, are we having Jailhouse Rock at the zoo? Robert, talk to me about this foolishness going on in your state.
Well, he came down. He was here, I want to say earlier today to visit. I think they're in a closer they're based. I can't remember. I can't recall if they're finished with it, but he came down was here to visit. So and he walked through. I don't know what he was expecting to see. And that's the same fool, I think, who you have up there now. He's the same. I think he's the same one who said that men aren't men if they go grocery shopping with their wives or whatever craziness. So Jesse Waters, I think his name is. And oh my goodness. Yeah, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And for them to just, again, be in our faces like this is sickening. But Lamont, what a lot of people don't know on top of all this is how much this is going to cost and what they're putting aside for this. $450 million per year they're looking to do this. And this goes along with another proposal I have regarding, now the education system. I've wanted to fight for teachers for quite a few years. I ran for the school board when I was in Texas. I wanted to fight for teachers to be paid more, more than paid what they deserve, which is far more than what they're getting now. And the question comes up, where's the money going to come from? One thing I learned on the, running for the school board in Texas is basically that everybody and everything gets looked at besides the teachers. And by the time they get to the teachers, of course, there's no money because they paid to everything else. I imagine it's the same way in other places. But where's the money going to come from? Pay attention, everybody. Stuff like this. Now, I understand this is coming from FEMA, right? Now, I haven't done the math yet, and I am going to do the math. But one of my, we have some great volunteers working on our campaign, and one of them is the teacher. And she got the numbers. I asked her to get the numbers as far as the number of students in the district, number of teachers, and basically, because she's already now, and we're talking about what this is, June when she did it. It's July today, but June is when she put a post on Facebook about a wish list for school supplies. And I said, that's a shame that teachers are doing like this early in the game. She felt she has to do that because, she's not going to get help. So when it comes to us, I said, well, let me see that because I want to put together how much it will cost to get school supplies for the number of students within the district. As far as I didn't do school breakfast and lunches, but basically just, to give the teachers give the teachers an increase in salary and so forth with the number of teachers. But I'm positive that number is not going to come anywhere near $400 million in a year. And they're already putting that aside for this. So where's the money going to come from? It's nonsense like this. And even if this comes from FEMA, Lamar, this is the thing. Even if this comes from FEMA, we can do this with a fraction of this money and the rest of it can go back to FEMA because what are we going to do for hurricane season, not to mention for the state in general, this region, okay? Because Florida is where I am, but of course I care about our, surrounding states as well. But what's going to happen in this facility? Because we're not talking about a sturdy foundation, sturdy infrastructure. These are tents. So strong enough. So we're talking about a tropical storm could take that out. So, this is, and right now I don't know if there's any plans to strengthen it any, but it's going to be a mess. So that's along with everything else. And plus these, this clown behavior from Fox News, but we can't, expect much from them. But on top of that, the money being spent that they can find. What did it say? Emergency funds. They were able to do an emergency, whatever. So when it comes to building this, they were able to make this happen in what, a week, 2 weeks time period. How about people who are on the street still? How about veterans? We got homeless veterans all over the place. Where's the emergency everything to get them off the street? So this is, this is where we are with it. And where's the money going to come from? This. That's something you're going to hear me say that a lot when I'm in office. If anybody asks, stuff like this right here, because the money's there.
Robert, I think and a lot of my audience know, the government has money for whatever they want to have it for.
Yeah.
And here's a sad thing. They got money to build a damn correctional zoo, but they didn't have the money to give the state of North Carolina FEMA funds for what happened to Western North Carolina. Trump told my governor, no. Those people are the ones who predominantly voted for Trump in Western North Carolina on the edge of Tennessee. They was devastated. To this day, still devastated. He told them no. He told the people in my state no to give these MFers an exotic zoo, and I bet they go and find Joe Exotic and stick his ass in there and let him bring 2 or 3 tigers to hang out with the crocodiles. It's madness.
Yeah.
It is pure madness. And to think that a president can tell a state that needs money no and divert it to this kind of mess, we damn near need an outside body to regulate that.
Yeah.
Because Joe Biden gave more money to red states than he gave the blue states for help. And Democrats were like, why? Because a lot of Republican states are the petri dish of how the Republicans would want to run the nation into the ground.
Yeah.
Let the con artists, white collar criminals run the money, what they call it, the wolf in the sheep's house, eating up all the money, throwing out table scraps for everybody else, and your economy sucked. And Joe Biden's, even knowing that, still gave them money, Robert.
Yeah.
And I can just tell by this one interview with you that even though people who are your opposition or be called your opposition, you still want to make sure everybody's taken care of. That's the name of the game. So I'm for you. I want you to get in there and do something. And this is your opportunity. I want you to tell the people, this is your elevator pitch. I give you 90 seconds. Tell the people everything they need to know about you and why they should get your vote and what you would do for them once you get in office.
Okay. Well, the main thing is being in the Army has really taught me a lot about serving others. And that's why I want to come back to this. I served for 21 years for a reason. I was taught when I was in there, be part of the solution. We can all complain, but step up and be part of, be the change that you want to see. We've heard that a lot, but be the change you want to see. I want to bring the attention back to us as the people. And we're so separated from our representatives and especially from members of Congress. That's why it's so hard for us to hear from them, and they won't even answer us a lot of times, especially my potential opponent, Laurel Lee. People are reaching out to her. Nothing's coming back because they feel like they don't have to. And I want to get it back. I want to remind the people of who we work for, and it's them. It's not Donald Trump. It's not Elon Musk. It's not these PACs. It's not these lobbyists. It's nobody but the people, the ones who vote for us to get in. That's who we work for. And I want to give people that faith and that confidence to remember, okay, he's here for us. That's why one of my volunteers came up with a great slogan for us. And if nothing else, I need people to remember this. Real change starts with people, both me and with everybody. So that we are going to do this. This is not going to be me getting in there. This is going to be us, because I can't do this by myself. I don't even want to, because my whole purpose for doing this is because of everybody.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the man speak. You've seen the man smile. You've almost seen him cry at what's going on in this country. You've gotten every facet of what he can do. All you got to do is click the link in the video description. I've got his TikTok. I've got a link so that you can donate to his campaign. Any amount of help, $2, $3, $5, it all adds up to help him overcome the kind of corruption we've seen in campaign finance. My brother Robert, Robert People, thank you for coming to have this interview. It was just an absolute delight and a pleasure to hear and refreshing to hear what you want to do for your state and for everyone in America. And I would like to ask you, for those that want to try to catch you out and about, where are some places you might be campaigning in the next couple of weeks?
I will likely be in, I want to say Lakeland, probably in the next couple of weeks. Lakeland is far east within the district. And let me see, after that, should be going to Polk County. I'm going to be in Polk County for a little bit too. So you can definitely find me out there, but definitely reach out to me. I want to, I'm going to help however I can, because this is my goal. I'm doing this to help people. So please reach out.
Well, you've got one who's already going to be donating right now. Thank you so much for that.
Appreciate
he definitely is worthy of it. And you guys keep letting me know. I'm here to interview all these great candidates. I'm going to be supporting them myself. And that's the mantra of this whole entire thing I'm doing. Ladies and gentlemen, until that next Sex is Hell video, remember, we speak, they flinch. Whole system gets pinched for equality. We'll see you next time.